Hey everybody, yeah, I finally got around to getting one of these Haven lay flat hammock tents. So this is a tent, that's a hammock. Now if you've followed my channel, if you've watched a couple of other videos that I have on my Lawson Blue Ridge hammock tent, that's on the other side of this here. We're going to compare these two. I really like the differences, the improvements that Haven has in their design. And we're going to go over all that. So I know it's going to be a little bit of a long video, but if you're interested in these kind of hammock tents, this is definitely worth your time to watch this video. First of all, the question is that I had, that most people have, is do you really lay flat in these things? It's still a hammock. It's still got 2 points that it's being held up by as a hammock. Do you really lay flat in it? The answer is about 90% yes for the Haven ones. The Haven ones, you get really, really close to that perfectly lay flat position. So here I am in it. I would say I've got about somewhere between a 6 to 12 degree bend right there at my hips. That is very, very little. It's good enough to where I'm comfortable on my side. I really am. I'm very, very comfortable on my side. Now, granted, the dimensions that you really need for a pad to work well in here, if you're getting one pad and not doing this duo combo effect like I have here, you need at least a 5 to 6, somewhere between a 5 or 6 inch thick pad. You need a fairly thick pad, and I'll explain why in a minute. And then your width dimensions, you need it to be 28 to 30. You have to have at least the 28. That's what this one here is. I think the other one that I have underneath of it's a 26 wide, but the 28 right here works fairly well. The one that Haven makes is claims to be 30 inches wide, and then it needs to be 80 inches long. It needs to be 78 to 80 inches long. I like that the zippers for the bug screen right here is set up to where the zippers zip up to the top corners, and from the top corners, and they meet down towards the middle or wherever you want, but they cover the full width from where these spreader bars are in here. They cover the full length of the hammock tent. On my Lawson hammock, the door is much smaller, which makes it a little more challenging to get sleeping pads in there and for you to get in and out of it. It just makes it a little more challenging, requires better balance and a bit of finesse. This is much more open of a door, much easier to get in and out of. The pockets at both ends and on the sides here gives you lots of storage for all your little items, and then it's a super easy setup. You clip it at both ends, you put your 2 spreader bars in, and then you throw your mattresses and your sleeping pads or blankets or whatever, and then you're good to go. You're done for the hammock itself. Then you got to do the rain fly. I opted out of getting the rain fly that comes with the tents because I prefer a much larger rain fly. I like having a nice big rain fly that gives me that vestibule space to, if I do have nasty weather, I can cook under it. I can, do things underneath my rain fly. I like having like another 5 to 6 feet on the front of me of working space to do whatever I want to do. All right, so that is the gist of the Haven hammock and the key features that I really like about it. Now let's go over to the other side, and I'll show you the Lawson Blue Ridge hammock, and I'll point out the things where that I didn't care for, that I had a little of frustrations with the design of that one, and why the Haven one is all that much better. Alright, so let's go do that. Okay, so this is the Lawson Blue Ridge hammock tent. Let me mention real quick, both of these, you can technically set them up on the ground like a bivy tent. So they both have those abilities, and I've done it with the Lawson one, and it works out pretty well. It works out pretty good. It definitely is a bivy tent. The height on the interior space of this one with the bug net and the way the poles on it are arcing poles. The design of this is much more common with most of your little hammock tents, your very inexpensive hammock tents that basically just takes the hammock and attaches a bug net to it. So you don't have a lot of height here when you're in the hammock tent, especially when you're on the ground. First noticeable difference is the way the zippers work with the bug net opening on the Lawson versus what you saw on the Haven tent. With this Lawson, as you can see, the zippers come to the bottom with it open, and then you have all of this just hanging down. This can get in the way and be a little bit annoying. That's been a mild aggravation for me at times, getting in and out of this hammock tent. So I don't like this. The Haven tent, the way it's reversed in how you open up the door, much better. The second part of that is the Lawson hammock here only has one side opened door. It doesn't open up, it doesn't unzip on the other side. Really like how the Haven tent, you can get in and out of the thing from both sides. So, and that is a big deal when you go to get in the Lawson one here. If I situate myself too far that way, so I'm kind of stuck, I'm kind of trapped. If I fall too far back, try to get in and out of this thing. So that's kind of a hazard feature with this hammock. You have to be really careful not to go too far that way. So when I do get in and I lay down in this thing, see how it was a little more of a challenge because my door's doesn't have as much width of opening. So when I do lay in here, I hope that you can tell through the camera here, but my hips definitely, and even if I slide up and shift my head further up to one end, which I also have hanging where its attachment point, its attachment point is higher at this end than it is down where on the end where my feet are. So that helps in ensuring that my head lays higher than my feet, that my feet are below my head when I'm laying, but not by much. As you can hopefully can tell, my hips really drop down much lower than in the Haven tent. The Haven tent really lays a lot flatter than this one does. Regardless of which type of, and granted I do have a different mattress in here than this dual setup in the Haven tent, but I've done that. I've put that dual setup in this tent. Not a noticeable difference of improvement than just this one thicker mattress that I have in here now. As you can see, I don't have as much room height-wise in the Lawson as I do in the Haven, but in the Lawson hammock, the dimensions for the width of this thing are much, much wider. 12 inches, actually. The dimensions of the Haven tent are XL. The XL, not the standard Haven, but the XL Haven, is 30 by 80, so 30 inches wide. This Lawson hammock is 90 inches long by 42 inches wide. It's 42 inches wide. So 12 inches wider than the Haven one. So if you are a broad-shouldered individual if you got big, burly, thick arms and broad shoulders, you're going to feel like you're being squeezed into a coffin in that Haven XL. And that's the XL, not their standard, the XL. In this Lawson hammock, being 42 inches wide, there's a lot of shoulder space, a lot of arm space. So if you want to lay with, if you like to lay with your hands, you know, somewhere around your chest or your stomach, and your elbows are kind of, you know, bending out away from your body, there's space for it in this hammock. There's not in the Haven. The Haven really, really streamlines you. And that is basically the big differences between these two. Obviously, the design is very, very different. The Haven tent, much better in the way that their crossbars are set up within the tent, whereas you can see the crossbars on this one are outside of the tent. And you have all the rope, all the cordage, using that to suspend it, and then you and with the tent poles that arc. The Haven tent does have a center ridge line, which is awesome for attaching any kind of a light or whatever you want to attach to that ridge line. It just overall structure wise, the Haven tent is a superior design to the Lawson one. I think just my only gripe that I would have is with the Haven is that for your larger people, the dimensions are a little tight. They're just a little tight. Both really good, both really comfortable. The question is how flat of a lay do you want, or how much interior space do you want? Those are the decisions you have to make. For me, the Haven's the winner. So, back into the Haven, and where I think I'll be happier, especially once I get a new pad. I did order off of Amazon a new pad that meets all the dimensions that I feel is going to make the best fit and the best setup for this Haven tent. So I will provide the link in the description for that pad, that camping pad that I just ordered. Actually ordered it today. But yeah, I absolutely think that this Haven tent is a really awesome way to go. If you're thinking about doing the whole tent hammock thing, is just, again, so much easier to get in and out of. You absolutely get as close to a perfectly lay flat situation as possible, as long as you have the right pad set up. And just the features and the quality that's packed into them is top notch. I'm really, really happy and impressed with it. And I think that if it's something that you really want to do, if hammock camping is something that you really want to dive into, it's definitely worth it to go with the Haven. Thumbs up for the Haven. Again, only issue for me is width, and I wish that they could get the price down a little bit. But you know, cost is going to be cost. That's always changing, and not always easy for the company or for the consumer. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Thanks. See you. Peace.